So we're going to go both deep and wide this morning with Philadelphia real estate knowledge because we can. Chris Summers is here today, and he's the voice and the face of Philadelphia real estate. If you're looking investigating real estate in Philadelphia to any great degree, especially on social media, then you've seen Chris. I see you all the time. You're doing a great job in that regard. But before we get started, let's do a pop quiz.
Let's do it.
Let's do a pop
quiz.
Get our brains.
Yeah,
get
I've
our
had some
brains
coffee,
functional.
Gary. I think I'm ready for a pop quiz.
I know you were here early. You said you had 8 cups of coffee before we started.
Many.
So let's go with this. All right. So I know you're a sports fan. This is our first podcast with a real estate agent. So what would your walk-up song be were you a professional baseball player?
Not for nothing. Like, I love being at the Phillies games, and I love the DJs, and I love that music kind of thing. When they come up, that's a great question. Like, there could be many. I love the Killers. Yeah, so maybe it's like what are the Killer songs? Which one? I'm not really sure. Like I listen to some of the music at the gym. Yeah, it's a good pop quiz. Like right out of the gate. But yeah, maybe like the Killers or like the Clash kind of thing. Like
all
something with like a little energy.
Okay, good. I like that. So then let's go with, so you're a Philadelphia guy, with or without?
Can you repeat that?
With or without? The cheesesteak guy, with or without?
Oh, without.
Without?
Yeah.
Sauce or gravy?
Light.
What do you call it?
Either one, either light sauce or light gravy, not too much.
Okay.
Too much. Like, I don't like it too messy.
Okay, fair enough. So when we were talking the other day, you informed me of some things that I really, didn't know much about other than the fact that I see you on social media. And you're really involved you are, I believe, a partner in your Keller Williams Empowered, right?
Yeah, I do have a partnership interest in KW Empower. I was part owner at Remax Access for many years.
Okay.
Then when my team went from Remax Access to KW Empower, got to meet Gary Keller. Yeah, a deal was put together. I certainly also had that. Some of my top team agents participate in that. Became with that. But that being said, I appreciate, Chris Summers, but like I've learned over the years, like the sum of the parts is much greater, than one person. So like our team, the Summers team, there's a lot of like contributions with the agents and our partners. So it's a lot bigger than just Chris. But please go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, that's it. So, and you also you kind of led into that. You also have a very dynamic team that you spearhead. Because I see you doing a lot of training and teaching and things like that.
I made it a goal. Some of this was like through coaching that, not to have too many like team meetings. I'd rather like focus on sales, but we have one mandatory meeting a month, right? And it's videotaped. So it's on video. So you see some of the videos from that. And I really like that, to kind of like the focus on excellence, opportunity, growth. We have typically a theme for each meeting, and we really make a maximum 1 hour and really make it high level. And not for nothing, like the people that show up in person, is very high. Mm-hmm. Like when I go to other like brokerages and team meetings, like a very small percent of the people are actually there. So like, we're at like maybe 80 to 90% turnout. And for the people that don't make it, there's always a good reason. But thank you.
That's awesome, because even I understand during COVID it was a little bit of an issue, and I think generally speaking, because I do a lot of teaching and training as well with realtors and loan officers. In fact, I think where we first met was this a Keller Williams event where you were a speaker, right, where we met face to face.
Right.
And it's interesting to me that it appears that within your team and within Keller Williams in general, the attendance at events like that is far greater than most other organizations involved in real estate. Would that be fair?
I think that is fair, because like I typically have like guests, that might come to some of those team meetings, and they, whether they're BSing or not, and be like, Chris, like that's the best team meeting I've ever been. Or here's a good stat. As the team grew this year, I think every agent that came as a guest thinking about joining the team joined the team.
Oh,
it was like 7 for 7 or 8 for 8. So something is going on at the team meetings, but obviously it's not just blah blah blah. There's substance behind it. In terms of like what's happening day to day, month to month, year to year. In terms of sales, lead gen, but kind of having energy and a value proposition where people want to come, and then when they do come, stay.
So you're batting 1,000 in recruitment. That's Hall of Fame stuff.
Yes, I think we could do more, but like there's a lot of moving parts. But yeah, I mean, it certainly makes it challenging, Gary, but exciting, to kind of have the partner, ship interest or small and KW Empower be part of that, be the team leader. I'm also, in sales, it's still, a big component, of business, working with great, lenders like yourself, throughout. But yeah, and I'm so excited about the Philadelphia market and opportunities coming up in the next few years.
Well, I think leading by example, and I see that in you. I still think that's the greatest way to accomplish big things with a team. Is you have to practice what you preach, and you have to be a market leader as well. So kudos for that mentality.
Thank you. I mean, and it goes both ways. It's like, I love the saying, Gary, it's like you become who you surround yourself with. So you could lead by example, and that's great. But like, if you're the only one kind of doing that, that could also be burnout. So I think it's important to kind of like, whether it's people in other industries or in the same real estate industry, to kind of like have some level of collaboration, motivation. So you're not just like Tom Hanks, with the volleyball in Castaway, because I can get lonely sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So, but I do like the opportunities ahead.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So I know you're a man about town in Philadelphia in terms of real estate. So let's dive into the real estate market a little bit, right? So what do you think are the greatest challenges in the Philadelphia market, both for, and I know you do a lot with first-time home buyers. I know you do a lot with investors as well. So what do you think are the biggest challenges for people? Let's go with home buyers first. With people looking to buy in the marketplace in Philadelphia, what do you think the number one challenge is right now?
I kind of put it like a tie, between public safety and mortgage rates / inflation. And I think the public safety is getting better. But in 2023, where transactions were down substantially versus 2022, I think transactions in Philly were down 30-some% year over year. So this is not the counties, but Philadelphia.
Right.
People would talk about mortgage rates and inflation, and because they went up so fast, that kind of created a pause. But like another big issue, 2022 and 23, is public safety. A lot of people are like, well, why should I buy a house on a street, when I could lease, in a big apartment complex where I have a doorman, my apartment somewhere. I have these amenities. So that, and both of those catalysts or things that kind of brought us down are also kind of bring us back up, I think, in 2024.
Right. Well, I'm glad to hear that.
Or 2025, I should say. Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that you feel like public safety is coming back in the city. That's huge in the city for home buyers. Now, so you said that real estate was down in terms of, I guess, the number of units and the dollar volume that's turned over. Is that so? Are you saying there's maybe the demand has gone down, or what's the supply like?
Very good question. A lot of moving parts in the marketplace. So like a lot of sellers, they kind of got frozen a little bit too. So inventory was low. Obviously, a lot of people moved out. I called it like burb mania, in the COVID years, where people sold in Philly, moved to the burbs, moved to New Jersey, and those markets are like crazy. Our market was like very strong, for a little bit there, post COVID, but like the supply, it's starting to trickle up a little bit, but it has been low. So like certain pockets in Philly have been strong, where people really want to be like some of the hot spots. And with us, like we really, it's always a goal, for us to have the property priced right from the beginning, have the product kind of stand out, as much as possible. I have a new construction property that's going to be listed for, $1 million plus, next week. It's a 3-unit building, and we're getting 2 of the 3 units staged. So and even if we weren't doing that, using virtual staging or just getting the best professional photography, so it's a combination of pricing, the presentation, online, offline, and then of course the reach in terms of being able to market that, in the context thereof. But at the same time, there are certain neighborhoods which are great, but it is a little bit sluggish. We have like seasonality right now too. The election, win or lose, if your candidate won or lost, it would still kind of put a pause on our market. I think there's still kind of a hangover effect of that. So like right now, it's kind of slow out there. So it's a great opportunity for buyers for sure. And sellers, it just need to be strategic. Who are they going to have represent them? Because marketing is key again. Video marketing, photography, contacts, or whatnot. A couple years ago, it was a lot easier to put something in MLS, have one or two offers, maybe more come in,
Feeding frenzy,
and so forth. But I do think going into 2025, and this has happened before too, that the inventory that's out there is going to be gobbled up very quickly. So it's a good opportunity to plan ahead for next year too.
Okay, so it's still a great opportunity. I think there's value in the city. I really do. I see that if you pick your spots, I think there's value there.
There is so much value in the city and so much opportunity. And this trend, I think we talked about it briefly. One of the things that happened the last 2 years, or the last, is everyone kind of talks about why lease when you can own, right? Because we talked about that briefly. There's so many benefits of home ownership as a first-time home buyer, or even if someone chose to lease for a little bit. That turned into why own when I could lease, because of all the stuff that we're talking about.
Right.
That in turn is finally starting to trickle back to why lease. When I can own. Some of the apartments, the vacancies are starting to trickle up a lot.
A lot. I read that just last week.
And the people that are leasing for these big numbers are now starting to say, hey, like public safety is a little bit better. I want to be with walkability and have the benefits of home ownership. And rates are starting to trickle down a little bit. You could probably elaborate on that. But I think because of that, Gary, like the pent up demand, that is really started to be there. Like, and then once that kind of, how things go, once that trend starts to happen,
dominoes.
I think there's going to be many, many more transactions in 2025 versus 2024.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying too. I think a combination of things. I think people, smart buyers realizing that to invest in real estate is a foundation for personal wealth. It just is. I've said that for years. If you really want to start to build your personal wealth, start with real estate. And I see that rentflation, has certainly motivated some people. We did get close to in Philadelphia, and in some markets, individual pocket of Philadelphia, I think at one point in time it was cheaper to buy than to rent.
Correct.
I'm seeing now it might be a draw.
It might be a draw, but then there's all these other benefits.
Yeah.
Like if you just take mortgage payment versus rent, okay, that is important. Yeah, but then all the other benefits, like we talked about before the podcast started, the mortgage interest deduction, the building equity, or just like the feeling of ownership. Means something, right?
Right.
And if you're not going to stay in Philly, and you're in transition or whatever, I mean, leasing is fine. But if you have the ability to purchase, they should contact you. Contact the Summers team like now. Like this is the time right now.
Hey, we're still advertising that you can be in your home by Christmas. Wake up Christmas morning in your own home. We still have.
The best present is your own home or home ownership, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Boom.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about, because you mentioned it when we spoke briefly the other day, and I find this fascinating. Everyone else might not find it fascinating, but you were involved in the Greater Philadelphia Board of Realtors. You're past president. Great organization. They used to have some fantastic Christmas parties in the 80s. That's all I can tell you about my experience there. But I know that on both a political and for their membership, they're very active. Tell me a little bit about your role there and what you learned from it that you carried over into your own business model.
I mean, it's a great question. I could probably ramble on for a while on that, but prior to 2019, I'm very vocal, and some people might like it, they might not like it. But at the end of the day, the advocacy, is on home ownership, it's on property rights, it's on Philadelphia growing. So it's a collective message that means something. And there was people at GPAR see me very active in sales and being owner of Remax Access. Like, hey, why don't you get involved a little bit more? Because I might have been going to some committees and whatnot. And then with GPAR, it's kind of like other boards. Like you start off at maybe treasurer, secretary, vice president, president-elect, president. But so I was president in 2019. And that was a pretty big year, because that's when, at the very end of the year, the tax abatement changed, from, the full 10 years to the graduated down 10 years. And I remember, Gary, going to every city council member and looking them in the eye and say, hey, what if the economy changes? What if there's a slowdown? And sure enough, COVID happened a year later. So I think there's all types of opportunities at city council. If it kind of gets back to like, hey, let's find policies that kind of benefit everyone, especially, property rights, because we've lost the small investor. Like the people that used to buy one or two properties and lease them out, they're gone. Or, they kept their properties for a while and then they sold them, and that was a house that was leased, right? That has turned over to an owner occupant. So like some of the unintended consequences of like protecting the tenant has hurt the tenant because the rental inventory for houses has gone down immensely. What happened? Rental prices went up. So, when you take a big picture kind of thing, that's just some couple small examples, Gary, but like there's tons of people, in realtors, that are very passionate about real estate. The opinions might differ a little bit, but more often than not, it's unity. Because the common denominators are home ownership, property rights, growth for Philadelphia. And I love Alan Dom's quote. Alan Dom, who ran for mayor, was president of GPAR a few times. And he basically said,
and an OG Philadelphia realtor.
Yeah, of course. Right? Yeah. And he would say if it wasn't for GPAR, he would have not, gone to the city council, right? So he didn't win as mayor, but he was, a city councilman and really contributed a lot to the city. Came close to that mayor race. But I think that's one big example that people that are there's so much involvement, and a lot of the realtors maybe they just don't really see the work behind the scenes. But it's such an impressive organization, fantastic people. And like we used to kind of call it like the voice of real estate, but in turn, it's kind of become the voice of Philadelphia, as far as growth and transformation.
Okay. So you mentioned one thing that, I know it exists and I know it's great for the market and it inspires people to make a move. I don't understand the politics behind it. I understand the numbers behind it.
Right.
The tax abatement.
Yeah.
So where does Philadelphia stand now? What's their position with a tax abatement? Do you think it'll come back? Do you think it'll increase? And do you think that'll have an effect on the market?
I mean, it's a great question. And I wish I had like all the statistics, but I do know this, is that the new construction, that's happened in the city of Philadelphia, even with, the 10-year true abatement, is so far below all the other big cities. Massively below. And we wonder why, our housing inventory might not be as much. So the abatement, the center city was dying, right? And then when that abatement came into place many years ago, again, some of this came from GPAR, it really kind of brought the resurgence and kind of kept it going. And then, it's not, then the perception is like it's only benefiting a certain, people, this, that, or the other. It was more of a political type of thing to kind of change it, which in essence really hurt, because the tax roll went down, COVID came, and then building in Philadelphia, went down even lower. And then with inflation, the cost to build went massively higher. So there's really some missed opportunities there. Put politics aside, long story short, the city of Philadelphia benefits so much more with policies like that. Because think about this, when that property, after 10 years goes off the abatement, every year, the tax roll goes up, kind of thing. And then not for nothing, I had a meeting with Daryl Clark. He was like past GPAR, or I'm sorry, city council president. They rolled out like the Philly First grant or something or whatnot. I was like, hey, out of curiosity, like, where are those funds coming from? He was like, Chris, oh yeah, all the properties that went off the abatement, we're putting towards that. I'm like, okay, but do things like that actually get said? Do things like people still pay taxes from day one when they buy a house with a tax abatement because they're paying on the land? And the city of Philadelphia has raised the land assessments dramatically. So taxes could still go up over 10 years, if the land assessment gets changed. But the perception, a lot of city council people, Gary, didn't even realize that people pay taxes from day one when they have a 10-year abatement. So if the city council people don't understand it, imagine what the average person on the street, just kind of hearing about this, like it's only benefiting this and they don't pay taxes. It's all wrong.
Yeah.
So like at GPAR, we kind of talked about, well, how do we get this messaging out? Well, we need to get it out through leadership. So we have the leadership. Some of the city council people, Alan Dom did a great job, but it just needs to continue, because if the city doesn't like do whatever it might be, why are we falling behind all these other big cities? We don't have to.
Right.
Where everyone can benefit. If the tax roll kind of increases across the board, everyone benefits, right?
Yeah.
If people in these neighborhoods where they weren't great are starting to improve and the equity increases, people don't have to sell their property. They're building equity that benefits all these areas. Where property like they might not be great. And then I can go on for a while here. You can see I'm kind of passionate. And then why
I told
not?
you this is going to be a 2-hour podcast.
Like, why not for those areas like where the average sale price is 300,000 or less, or 250 or less? Why not have a 15-year abatement? To spur development.
10 years sounds like a long time, but it's really not a long.
No, it's not that long. Again, because there's still taxes on the land assessment,
right?
And that might spur some more renovations or more interest. Because obviously, where people are especially investors, not just developers. There's a lot of like people that might want to buy a property or two. The abatement's not always on new construction.
Mm-hmm.
When you renovate a property, you could apply for abatement and kind of get that. So, but I mean, I think there's a lot of other people like Chris that are just as like have like the advocacy as I do. And it's not just advocacy. It's like, the growth of the city. So with that, good things are going to happen.
Awesome. So it's really interesting, because I know with the tax abatement scenario, and then you touched on another thing, the grant product, Philly First, and some of those things. First time home buyers are near and dear to me too. That's I want everybody to own a home. I mean, that's just kind of ingrained in me over the last 4 decades of being in the mortgage business. Some of my most gratifying closings are first time home buyers that went from not great conditions to much better conditions for them and their family.
Correct.
So I love that about what we do.
Absolutely.
So Chris Summers, you're king of the world, or at least king of Philadelphia for a few days. All right. And you have to come down with some policies you're going to tackle. First of all, you're going to tackle probably the abatement. And how would you tackle administering or changing or modifying in any way the grant product? Now, we have first-time home buyers with zero down. You require no money down to get in, right? Sometimes that's enough. Sometimes it's not enough, because let's face it, closing costs in Philly is high because of transfer tax. Right. So if you could modify or change the products that we can use as lenders and you can use as realtors to help offset some of that cost, like the Philly First grants and things like that, which I think is a great product. But in my experience, and maybe it's user error, I feel like it's a little bit cumbersome, and not everybody has access to it in a timely fashion.
Correct. I mean, back in the financial crisis, like the federal government, had like the first time home buyer credit. Maybe something like that on the federal level. But I think obviously the growth on the city level, is really, really important. So to have some sort of grants is extremely important. Some could be convoluted. I do, can give a shout out, to Mo Rushdie, and Larry McKnight with the Riverwards Group. They're working with Sean Conroy on my team. They're really connected with the city of Philadelphia doing the Turn to Key program, where it's the people work for the city or work in the city. They can't make over a certain amount of money, are getting like, the opportunity to buy a fantastic home with equity right out of the gate. So that equity, could be lost if they sold the home. So there are some really nice, affordable type things happening, whether it's through grants or whether it's through these programs. But like you just mentioned the transfer tax, and it keeps going up. Why is the city of Philadelphia transfer tax the highest in the United States of America? Why?
And has been for a while.
It has been. Because once you raise it, typically it doesn't go down. But if revenue is coming in from somewhere else, why are we forcing, a first-time home buyer? I mean, they might have seller assist or whatever that could kind of help with that, pay 4% plus in transfer tax, for every property that they buy and sell. Why?
Yeah.
Where's that money going?
Right.
And if the city's improving, I think that's one thing. We'll put the grants aside, put these other things aside. It makes no sense, where it's almost like an extortion tax. And then you have the real estate taxes on top of that, and the assessments in the city of Philadelphia keep going up and up. I think 2 years after COVID, they did freeze it for a year or two. And then all of a sudden, like, hey, let's just raise the assessment. So they went from boom to boom. in an inflationary type economy, like, why are we punishing our homeowners?
Right.
Why not maybe scale it in? Why not be a little bit thoughtful or reach out to GPAR, to kind of like do something? Because when you have insurance going up, real estate taxes going up, mortgage rates, it obviously we're making it more difficult for home ownership in the city of Philadelphia. We don't have to. The more people that are here, and as our population can grow, which it hasn't done well, Gary,
Right.
in the last year or two,
Right.
it doesn't have to be like that. Does that
Yeah.
make sense to you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I don't want to be crazy here. I don't want to be too crazy.
No. It's these are all very interesting points, and it's because you and I both, I think, feel the same way in that no one that has ever bought a well thought out piece of real estate has lost money over time.
Over time, correct.
So, there's things that happen and people have to sell, and maybe they take a little hit. Those are things outside of their control. But, over time, it's the best investment that there is. You'll never lose money on real estate. It's always a good time to buy real estate. It's just that in the city of Philadelphia, what I think you and I both share, and you've very well vocalized, is that we got to get that barrier of entry down just a little bit. We got to open a few more doors.
Correct. And that's the homeowners and, like the small investors too, is like, how come someone can't evict someone in the city of Philadelphia when they have a lease? Like, what happened to a lease means something?
Right.
What happened to like
It's a
contracts?
contract. Yeah.
When people, it was almost like back in the financial crisis, people chose to get a loan and maybe they couldn't pay for it. They went to foreclosure. I get it. Like, I've been through hard times many times in my life. But like when someone agrees to go into a lease, I understand things happen, but it's like for some of these small investors, it was like impossible for them to evict, number one. And number two, which is even worse, is the squatter issue. And if the city of Philadelphia doesn't tackle that in either 2025 or 2026, why would, a smaller investor, or maybe they bought a home, they lived in it for 5 years, and instead of selling it, maybe they keep it, at least and buy another home.
Right.
We're losing that type of investment in the city, because we're not protecting property rights and owners of real estate. So hopefully, and I've been talking to people at GPAR, something kind of comes out with that. I get it. We want to like protect people, but we want to find like win-wins. Because like the squatters know the system inside and out. Think about this for a second. I had a property, for a really good client that's been a great investor in the city of Philadelphia. They were waiting for their tenant that wasn't paying to move out to sell the property. The tenant moved out. They spruced up the property. Literally 3 days before photos, a squatter came in. And they're like, Chris, what do we do? We talked about attorneys or whatnot. I'm like, you know what? You might just want to offer him a couple $1,000 to leave. And that's what they did.
Oh, and did it work?
It worked.
Wow. That's amazing.
So it's on the market. We'll get it sold. But yeah, there's a lot of things here.
Is there a name for that, like squatter arbitrage or something?
I don't know, but like other states are doing it. Like, why aren't we like doing something, to protect, generational wealth, in real estate? Like you said, the people that do buy properties, the people that have been homeowners in the city of Philadelphia for a while, it's one of the biggest, it's their biggest percentage of wealth over time. And then they could pass that, to generations. With these younger people that are leasing and not getting involved in this now, we're really hurting, our people by not helping them. Does that make sense?
It does. It does.
Okay.
Now, I have one more question for you, and then we can maybe move on from
Sure.
of that. But I have, this is a 10,000-foot question, but I'm sure it must have some influence on the market, and if anybody knows, you would know. So the bringing the workforce back into the city that are working, not required to work from an office or working from home, has the vacuum of people not working in the city hurt the real estate market? And will a correction of that bring more interest, maybe more public safety focused? And will that create or not more propertyship, concerns or opportunities?
Yeah, I mean, it's an excellent question. Like, if it wasn't for work from home, remote work during the burb mania trend, that's when like people are like, I can't take it anymore, Chris. I have kids. I can't go to restaurants. Things are closed. There's too much crime or whatever. They're moving to, Jersey, Bucks, Delaware, but there was people that were working from home, or had the ability to work from home that, maybe their work was in New York City or DC, that kind of thing. So they're like, well, why should we buy there? We could come to Philly, get something that's like much less and be okay with whatever is going on. So, those moving parts, I think, are kind of like, they kind of like even each other out a little bit. I do think maybe as work from home, starts to hone in, I do think that why lease when you could own equation, might start to like mean a little bit more. I know that it will mean more, and that will kind of help the market, as a whole. So,
Yeah,
so a
I,
lot
I
of
think
moving
that's going
parts.
to be. I think that's going to be more and more conversation in that area in 2025 for people to get back to work in offices. It has to hurt the big landlords, big commercial landlords. It has to be hurting them, and I would imagine it hurts the city. In a lot of different ways.
Yeah, not to go off track, but I think I saw a statistic or somewhere that the federal government workers, like only 6% go into the office.
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I think the city of Philadelphia, I think a lot of people
Which
still.
has federal government workers. A
Yeah,
substantial
there's
amount of
probably
federal
there's
government
probably
workers.
all these vacant buildings in DC. Who knows? But yeah, I do think the trend of productivity. I mean, a lot of companies, have kind of dialed that back in. Obviously, there are certain jobs and positions that are ideal for that. Others not as much. But I think with the city, as productivity starts to increase, people are like here. They're going to restaurants. They're going to the Sixer games. Sixers are having a horrible year, Gary.
My next question is, and you wore that sweatshirt, so you brought this on
I
yourself because
did.
I
I
do
did.
have a
Yeah.
couple of questions.
Yeah.
Um, the new arena in the city. I mean, I have to ask you about that. What do you think of that? The Sixers are having a horrible year, and they want to spend all that money right in the middle of the city. What do you think about that?
I've been I'm a past board member of the Northern Liberties Neighborhood Association. I love the people, like some of the best people in the city of Philadelphia. But oftentimes, when it came to a vote, I might have leaned like more pro development, and I might have been like the only vote, and then all these other people like, no, 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 like wait, maybe a yes.
Hmm.
Since day one, I've been an advocate of that move, and a lot of my friends hate me for it. I just think it's a great opportunity for massive jobs, massive opportunities for all the restaurants, the shops around there. Number three, I haven't had a drink in 18 months.
Good for you.
But like
Congratulations.
18 months ago, I'd be driving to that stadium and back, having maybe too many. Who knows? So I think, like why have something way out there, where there could be some of those issues. And when I went to San Francisco earlier this year, the Golden State Warriors, like right
Hmm.
downtown, New York City is right there. I understand, the people that are opposed to it, but I think if you see these other cities where it really benefits, people are like Ubering there, whatnot. It does kind of create, vibrancy. Ever been to like Camden Yards?
Oh yeah.
Baltimore, like it's right there. Like I mean, it's nice that it's down there, but like I think that there's going to be many more benefits versus disadvantages. I remember when the casino was proposed on Delaware Avenue, there was all this fear about traffic, prostitution. Like you could never be able to walk on Delaware Avenue again.
Yeah.
I
Right.
mean, I don't even need to say anything else after that.
Yeah. So you're pro city arena.
Correct.
Okay. And so
People
then
might
after,
hate me for that, but
so what's the best show you ever saw at the Spectrum?
the best
The
games.
best game, best show you ever saw at the old
I
Spectrum?
mean, I love like the playoff. I really like the Sixers team of like 4 or 5 years ago. With Embiid and some of the other like the 3-point shooters. Like I miss all the people that I really like aren't on the team anymore. Like this year's team is just like brand new, and maybe they'll get it together. I mean, maybe not one moment. I just love the energy at the games. I love the camaraderie. I love when the music gets played. The kids and the people are like, you don't even have to like enjoy basketball to have a fantastic time there.
Right.
And that's really the case, with all the sports. But yeah, this came in the mail yesterday, so I wanted to like at least support the Sixers. And my confession is, this is their first year I don't have season tickets.
I remember you saying something about that. And, and then I also saw where, well, maybe it was you, somebody bought tickets, and I think they got tickets for like $5, like up
Yeah, I mean, I feel good about my economic decision not to renew. Like my friend, my friend Sean is, we're like, let's, we're a little bit of, economics. I think people have to cut back, like, like in every industry, maybe not every industry, the Bitcoiners or whatnot, and kind of different, but like they were really expensive. and we couldn't sell them, for face market value. So like
Right.
it just like the inflation of those tickets just got like a little bit too crazy for us. But I could still obviously buy tickets online and whatnot. But like the team needs to like get it together, and maybe Embiid, maybe they'll have like a Rocky story. I don't know exactly what's going on with him. Yeah, I actually have you ever read the book Relentless?
Yes.
What a fantastic book. And maybe Embiid needs to hook up with that trainer, who helped Kobe Bryant, who helped Dwayne Wade. And that book certainly applies to like anyone that's practicing self-development. But I have a feeling that he'll get it together, or at least, whatever he's going through, I can relate. I'm sure a lot of us relate to it. What I don't like is people like, oh, yeah, good,
Maybe Maxey gets to him.
Maybe.
Maybe Butler comes back. That'd be great, right?
I really miss Butler. I really miss Butler. There's so many people that are used to be on our team and are gone. That it's like, ugh.
So,
anyway.
quick recap: when Chris Summers is king of the world, we're going to extend the tax abatement out to 25 years. We're going to modify a little bit the grant program, whereas the barrier of entry in terms of time is a little bit less, and we can spread more money out to offset the cost to become a homeowner. We're going to have a stadium venue in Center City, and when Chris Summers is king for the week. And what else would you do for the benefit of Philadelphia and for the real estate economy?
Why not have our transfer tax be the same as Delaware County, Bucks County,
Love that.
Montgomery County? That would be a huge benefit across the board. The city could still benefit because revenue would be coming in other areas.
Love that. And I think really for the entire state of Pennsylvania, for a long time, we're getting to the point across the state, most of the state, such that real estate tax escrows annually are a problem. They're an obstacle. Why can't we be like New Jersey and do a 3-month escrow, right? And would really, it would really cut the amount of money required to go to closing. It would cut back on the amount of money required to refinance after you've been in a property for a few years. Like, that's one thing I would throw out there too, is an annualized escrow for real estate taxes is, it's getting a little bit cumbersome here.
I think the whole tax structure needs to be looked at. And I know Michael Nutter was starting to do that. The people that are self-employed with the BPT, the MPT, there's so much efficiencies there. And I think the statistic is, we're the highest tax city in the United States of America behind San Francisco, right? And if you probably take a look at real estate values in San Francisco versus Philly, probably a huge difference. Well, we know there's a huge difference. Yeah. Income, probably a huge difference. And yet, we're kind of like, it doesn't make any sense. So, what we need, and we talked about public safety. I think we have to give a shout out where shout out is due. Mayor Parker, Sherelle Parker, she's a tough woman, and she is smart and she is diligent. I voted for Alan Dom, but I'm very happy that Parker is in there because like she is an advocate for the police, public safety, and doing things that are really improving the city. And I think she was behind the Sixer proposal too.
Well, I mean, she appears to be a doer, right?
Yeah,
she's hands-on. She's a doer from everything I've seen. I don't live in the city, but I have a vested interest. I love the city. I wish I actually used it more. I'm looking forward.
Come on in the right. We need people to come in from the counties, go to the restaurants again.
I love it. Maybe we'll start by going to dinner one night.
Well, I'm in.
Okay, sounds good. So I'm going to wrap this up, and if unless you have something else you want to cover about your team and your personal production.
Well, I mean, shout out to you, Philadelphia Mortgage Inc. Right?
Yep.
Shout out to Manioc, and this studio in here. What's the name of this studio again? Manioc Studios. It's sexy in here.
It is.
Like the vibe in here. Like, I guess this didn't probably cost $100,000 to create. It's okay. Well, maybe it did. I'm just kidding. It's just cool. And I have high, I don't know what the word is, appreciation, respect, for people like you, Gary, and the other people taking the time, in doing things like this. And I know people do listen, and the message that can kind of come from that is important. So, it's a little easier to be on a podcast. It's a little harder to actually do it consistently.
Oh, I disagree. I was in your chair last month, and I'd much rather be
all right.
over here.
All right, fair enough. But no, I mean, I just basically just want to say thank you, and it's an honor to be asked to speak.
Well,
of
you
these
know, when we
things.
talked about this and we're, thinking about who we should have on it, and I'm like, we really need to get Chris Summers on here because we are Philadelphia Mortgage Company, and Chris Summers is the face and the voice, in my opinion, of Philadelphia real estate. So thanks for joining us. I really appreciate it. So now I am going to ask you a couple. I'm going to end the way we started. I'm going to ask you a couple of more pop quiz questions.
Pop quiz. Okay, I think I failed the first round, but
no, you did great.
I guess there's no pass or fail. But okay.
Because it is December. All right. Favorite holiday crooner?
Holiday crooner?
Crooner, singer, Christmas carols, Christmas songs, radio play. They started around Halloween this year with Christmas music. So
I like I like the ones that are a little more upbeat. I guess maybe like the Mariah Carey song. I'll take that one.
Okay,
I don't know the
you'll
name
take
of
that
it,
one?
but I like it.
Okay, all right, great. And this is a big question.
Good.
Who has the tougher schedule to play out? The Philadelphia Eagles or the Trump transition team?
I would say the Philadelphia Eagles.
Okay.
The Trump transition team, again, put politics aside, they have momentum. And the Eagles, with football, like every game is a coin toss. And we saw what happened last year with the Eagles. I don't think that's going to happen this year. Yeah, but like the NFL and that level, each game is almost 50-50. I don't know like when the podcast is going to be recorded, but I will be at the game. I think they play the Panthers.
Right.
Because I like to go to 1 or 2 games a year, so I'll be there. I think we're double-digit favorites, so hopefully I don't, mess up. They don't have a letdown.
Well, so I have 2 observations there. I feel like this Panthers game, I went to the Panthers game in Charlotte 2016, 17, whenever we won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And that was a turning point. That Panthers game in Charlotte set us up for that Super Bowl run. I feel like this Panthers game is the same. Not that it's going to be a difficult game, but I think it's important to make this a little bit of a statement game and keep our momentum as a team moving in that direction. I think it'll set us up nicely if we
Yeah, I
prevail.
mean, and then obviously I think what's most important, that I guess in basketball it's a 6th man, in football I guess it's the 12th man or whatnot. Whatever that could be done to get that home field advantage. Whether statistically, it would probably be Philly, Detroit. But Green Bay's in there, Minnesota. Like it's the NFC. There's a lot of really good teams.
Yeah. I only ask about the Trump transition schedule, partly tongue in cheek, and partly because I've been telling people that no matter who wins the election, it's going to create some direction which will become the focus of an interest rate reduction. And when the dust clears, I think when the smoke settles, I think we're going to see inflation move in the right direction. The homes report or the jobs report comes out today, might move the needle a little bit.
Yep.
But I think once we get some of the political chess match played out, I think we're really going to see some interest rate reductions in 2025 that are going to benefit all of us.
I 100% agree with that, and that's really like such an important topic because the politics aside, and I kind of said it publicly and on Facebook. It didn't matter to me who won the election.
Agreed, 1,000%.
Because I was already under the notion. A lot of this came from Gary Keller and just being on other podcasts. Is like the trend is the trend, no matter who wins the election. The trend is, even though it's slow and it's stubborn and it's painful, rates are coming down. And post-election things, they might come down maybe a little bit more. Like if he kind of gets on top of the energy. If that kind of comes down first, other will follow. But I do have a feeling the CPI reports of December and January should be of the notion where mortgage rates typically go down, obviously before the Fed move. But independent of who won, we know who won. That trend is going to continue, which is one of the reasons that you and I and many other people are very bullish on the Philadelphia market.
Absolutely, nature hates a vacuum, and I think once that settles, we're going to be set up for 2025. Chris, thanks for coming. I really appreciate it.